Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the Pi cycle top indicator. It is about to cross. By the time you watch this video, it will have already crossed because it's going to cross while I make this video. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So if you're not familiar with the Pi cycle top indicator, it's essentially this indicator that historically has been able to show local tops or market cycle tops, right? And if you go back far enough, you can see that there's been three of them. This one, and this one. And then if you look at other exchanges that have more data, there was also a top over here, but that one was not predicted by the Pi cycle top because it takes into account longer term moving averages, and the longer term moving averages were not around at that time. So we look at this chart and we say, well, historically after the other three Pi cycle tops, we had fairly significant corrections, right? I mean, this was like a 70 to 80% correction. This one was also an 85%, 88% correction. And after this one, we had an 80-something% correction. Now, what I would say is that yes, there is always a chance that we have a local top, okay? Now, what I should say though is that this is nothing more than an exercise fit to 3 data points, right? It's nothing more than that. It is not necessarily predictive, right? I personally do not think we are at a market cycle top right now, but the prior three Pi cycle tops came just before an 80% drop. I mean, an 80% drop from here would take Bitcoin all the way back down to $12,000. I don't really see that happening. I don't think that we're at that point in Bitcoin's market cycle where it's going to go back down to that level. Now, I will contend that later on we could have significant drops that'll be really hard for people to deal with, but I do not yet think that Bitcoin's about to have an 80% drop or anything close to it. We always recognize that local tops can happen though. So the reason why we know this is about to cross is because currently it's at 44,842 and the one it's about to cross is at 44,856, but we are coming into the daily close as I make this video in approximately 16 seconds. So we'll zoom in here and we'll capture the actual cross so that you guys can see it, and we'll have it on the for the record books, right? This indicator was developed by Phillip Swift, in fact. So we'll see it here. We'll see the new daily time come in, and we'll take it from there. All right, there it is. You can see they have in fact crossed. Okay, the yellow or the orange line is now at 45,169. The green one's at 45,154. So the Pi cycle top has now officially crossed. Okay. And what I think too is you have to remember what the Pi cycle top indicator is for. It's to show historically that within 3 days, that's the market cycle top or a major top before a significant correction. Okay, so the last all-time high for Bitcoin was not within 3 days, but it doesn't mean that we won't have one within 3 days. So we had the prior all-time high for Bitcoin was about 29 days ago. So if we were to put in a new all-time high within the next 3 days, then the argument behind the Pi cycle top indicator of it predicting an all-time high top before a massive correction could come back into play. But until we go back above 61.8 or 61.9, we're not quite there yet. Okay, we're not quite there yet. And so it doesn't, we're not currently at an all-time high within the last 3 days, but it doesn't mean we can't get there. So what I would say, again, is that there's a lot of indicators that show that there's theoretically a lot more room to go. A lot of people consider my logarithmic regression band, which again is only fit to 3 data points, to be conservative, fairly conservative, but it's less conservative than the Pi cycle top indicator, which is showing across now. So like if you look at this, you can see that it's less conservative because it's saying, okay, the next major top is within 3 days. The peak logarithmic regression band takes us all the way up to $90,000, 90,185. So according to the peak regression band model, which is my model here, which I also think could theoretically break and we could go above it because it's only fit to 3 data points. But to go to the top of that, it would still be another 50% move. And then I also did a video a few days ago showing, I just made a quick a quick indicator showing that, we can make fits to prior data points, right? So look at this red line fit. And actually, I'm going to switch this over to a longer or a chart that has more data. And you can see that this red line has been pretty good at finding, and again, it's just basically finding these prior tops, 1, 2, 3, 4. But right now we're not at that red line, right? I mean, if you zoom in, we're not at it. And for us to get to it, it would mean going all the way up to $107,000 in the short term. Okay, and we know that it's moving up relatively quickly. So it's just this is one more way to look at things and to say, well, just because it has been able to predict, and I should say predict in quotation marks because it actually hasn't predicted anything yet, because the pi cycle top indicator was made in hindsight. Like most indicators that we talk about on this channel and that most people talk about, most of them have been made in hindsight. So we look at this and we say, well, it's certainly possible, right? It's certainly possible that we do get a fairly significant correction, right? You can see the pi cycle top has shown right here. It's certainly possible we get a significant correction. And during the second market cycle, so during this cycle right here, we had 2 pi cycle tops, right? We had one here, we went back down, but we did not go back down to the regression band, okay? But we still had a substantial correction. So even if we had a substantial correction here, and let's say we went to the 20-week moving average, right? Imagine we go to the 20-week moving average or something. We haven't tested that since October. That currently ranges from and it's now updated. So the bull market support band now ranges from 42,631 up to 43,940. That wouldn't necessarily indicate a market cycle top either. It just sort of depends on whether we hold it and if we can push ourselves up higher. So let's take a look closer at where we currently are. It's interesting because, this regression model that we've had on the channel for a long time, it seems like Bitcoin is holding resistance, like right at it, sort of riding up it. Here it was holding right below it at around 58K, and then later at 59K, and now it's right below it at 61K. We still have not had any weekly closes in our peak logarithmic regression band, which is another reason why I don't necessarily think this is the end of the market cycle. Of course, you could also argue, well, since it's only fit to 3 data points, it could also over-predict things rather than under-predict things. But let's look at the confluence of a lot of different indicators and recognize that, yes, a lot of people are freaking out about the pi cycle top. Yes, we could have a correction in the short term. That does not necessarily mean that it's the end of the market cycle. There's a lot more indicators that suggest that there's a lot more room for Bitcoin to run this market cycle. If anything, a correction at some point in the next few months would be welcomed by a lot of people, especially those wanting to quote unquote buy the dip. We have not had significant dips in quite a long time. I mean, the last major one was back in February and March of 2020. Since then, the largest corrections we have had are about 31%, and that was here in January. We had a 31% correction. Okay, so Bitcoin is now at 60,242. For the pi cycle top indicator to have a chance of sort of doing what it was designed to do, predicting a major top to within 3 days, we would need to see a new all-time high within the next 3 days, followed by a major pullback. If we pull back now, then we're not, it was 29 days since the last prior all-time high. So it's certainly possible, given Bitcoin's current volatility, that we do put in a new all-time high. However, as I said before, I do not necessarily think that this is the market cycle top. I think this is a sign. It's one sign that the market is fairly heated. We have to understand that if the pi cycle top is crossing, then if history is an indication, the market is very heated. But does that mean we're about to have an 80% drop? Probably not, right? Probably not. Could we have a 30% drop? 40% drop? That's always on the cards, right? That's always on the cards for Bitcoin in a bull market. 40% drops are essentially par for the course. We had several of them last market cycle, and I'm sure we'll have 40% drops this market cycle. So we'll take this one step at a time. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 301,000 subscribers. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think. Where do you see Bitcoin heading? Do you think that this is a major top followed by a huge correction that will turn a lot of stomachs? Or do you think we're just still sort of in consolidation mode before trending even higher into less conservative models? Okay. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and check out the premium list. You can find a link to that at intothecryptoverse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time. Bye.